The infighting between House and Senate Republicans is red meat for the politically obsessed. The members in the House stuck to a mostly party line yesterday for the payroll tax bill. The Senate, meanwhile, displayed 89 Democrats and Republicans in solidarity. We were talking earlier about potentially the fall of the House of Boehner and just what this means. Obviously, not having Mitch McConnell's support, or at least at this point, some sort of vocal acknowledgement that he faces an uphill battle and he has McConnell's support, I think is tough for John Boehner right now. And I want to read something that Boehner's spokesperson sent to me vis-a-vis the weakening of Brand Boehner. We're trying to do the right thing by legislating responsibly. We're just running up against a decades-old Washington ethos that business stops around the holidays. Boehner's stated goal as Speaker was to return the House to a deliberative legislative body, return to regular order, be more open, make members of Congress legislators again. That's his brand, and that's what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. You know, I can't resist the Luke Russert, biblical analogies here. They've turned Obama from Pharaoh into Moses. I mean, really, now he's the great liberator. The guy who's ruling is actually, and making people make, brick out of straw, is the one delivering them. And I think Boehner is up against not only a PR machine, but he's up against the logic of, elitism. When people sneer at $40 or $1,000, as Ronna was saying, that's big money in most people's pockets. And if they don't get that, the optics that Luke was talking about, you don't get the fundamental, drive of what politics is all about. Delivering critical resources in an important time of crisis to people who are vulnerable. That's what politics is about. And especially in a holiday season, don't you have any compassion?
Right, against the backdrop of the holidays, it's certainly.
I think, too, what this underscores more than anything is the war within the Republican Party right now. The establishment cannot control the far right. And I wonder how long it's going to be before the nominee is going to have to do a frontal attack on the House Republicans.
Well, as St. Thomas Aquinas once said.
Optimistic theology, I should say.
No, look, Boehner has been in trouble since the day he walked in the door with this group, and it's been the case. It's been hard for him. The White House thought this has been one of the fundamental things that's governed our politics in the last year was the White House thought that they had a partner they could do business with. They realized that Boehner, throughout this year, time and time again, has not been able to control his caucus. I think that there's not that much legislating left to do in 2012, but the question is what the composition of the House. 2012 is going to be a legislation-free year. So the question is what happens after next November? What's the composition of the House caucus then? Are the Republicans still in control? Do these Tea Party members get reelected? There are a lot of big questions, but if the Tea Party caucus is stronger after next November, John Boehner will be out on his ear, would be my guess.
But I do want to talk about this dynamic, and Jimmy, I'd love for you to talk to this about between the House and Senate. And Luke mentioned it a little bit when he said the House of Lords thing. John Boehner is not just at war with his own caucus in the House, but there's this power dynamic between the Senate's gone, they've passed their bill, and it's left to the House to swallow it effectively.
Well, can we go back for just 1 second to what Speaker Boehner's staff said? They're legislating responsibly. This is a House of Representatives that's passed 7 continuing resolutions this year. Then they passed their own funding bill, and now they can't pass a middle-class tax cut for 2 months. That's pathetic. So don't hand me don't peel my leg and tell me it's raining outside. That's not legislating responsibly. It's not.
Now, Jimmy may have been born at night, but he wasn't born last night.
That's exactly right. That's right. I barely even slept last night.
St. Thomas Aquinas said that, actually.
That was definitely.
But, nobody wants to talk about that dynamic between the House and the Senate.
I worked in the Senate for 7 years, and we always disdained and looked at the House as all there's lots of those people over in the House, and they'll run around like, ants, blah, blah, blah. And then they look at us in the Senate like, we were arrogant jerks, and most of us were. But, at the end of the day, it was simple. I spent more of my time in the Senate sitting on the Republican side of the aisle on the floor, on the back benches, making deals with my colleagues to get things done for my boss than I did worrying about what the House of Representatives was going to do. Then when you'd get to conference committee, and we had lots of conference committees, HC5 of the Capitol, SC3 of the Capitol, which are in the bowels of the Capitol, where you'd go for conference committees, and you'd work out those deals, and it was legislating. That was legislating responsibly. This is a dog and pony show, and it's embarrassing.
But I think the story here, just jump in quickly, is that this is the logical consequence of the hijacking of the Republican Party by the Tea Party. I mean, we're seeing the consequences right now.
Yeah, it's been going on since 2010.
Let's talk a little bit about the implications for 2012, because, John, you brought that up. We know the Cook Political Report rates 10 Senate races as toss-ups. 8 of those are currently held by Democrats. Republicans need to pick up 4 seats to claim a majority. In terms of the House, Cook rates only 21 House seats as a toss-up. 8 of those are Democratic. I wonder what you guys think the implications of this battle are. I mean, John, I think you said that you think that there will be repercussions potentially in the House, but I wonder if there's anything happening in the Senate.
Well, the Senate, obviously, I mean, part of the reason why we had this big lopsided passage of this bill is because Senate Republicans recognize the politics of it, and they also recognize that they have a huge political opportunity in 2012. I don't know very many serious political analysts today who would say that they think there's a very good chance Democrats will not lose control of the Senate in 2012. It's a really bad year for Democrats for the reasons that you just said, Alex. I think that the Senate is on this is in relatively good shape. The House is where the vulnerability is, but their vulnerability is not just on this issue, but it's over the totality of the way they have not legislated responsibly over the course of the last year.
And you know something to that point, speaking of Republicans, who's the Republican that came out and actually said, in the Senate, by the way, we passed it, we got to deal with this, let's go on, let's do right by the American people, Scott Brown, the most vulnerable Republican senator up for re-election.
Very telling. It'll be interesting to see what other talking points come out over the next 24 hours.